And hello, our Bridging the Gap family. We are back here with my brother, Dave
That's who I am.
Nicastro, V, my sister from another mister, here as well. And we are here with Bridging the Gap podcast. Friendly reminder for everyone of our mission, which is to quiet the stigma of PTS and mental illness that veterans across the nation and across the globe deal with. And we do that through storytelling, education, and relationship building. Ain't that right, fam?
Yeah,
Sure
absolutely.
is.
What we do.
And my friend Angus is going to put up a slide of resources that we always put up. And so we're going to just bring you through some really important ones. There we go. Crisis line is one we want to really let the vets know of right away. Dial 988, then press number 1. You can also text 838-255. 24/7. You can chat online. Whatever your crisis is, we don't want anyone hurting themselves, taking their life. We also have the Gloucester Veteran Services Officer. V is our amazing woman who runs that center in the district, 978-281-9740. We do have, it's not right up there, the Veterans of War Retreat. They are coming up in Florida, October 3rd to 5th. You can have a free trip to Jupiter Beach in a hotel. It's amazing in October as well as in November in upstate New York, Greenwich, New York. There's another retreat, November 4th, 5th, and 6th. If you want to go, email us at bridgingthegapvetspodcast@gmail.com. Can it be smaller? Like, that's such a long
I tried
email.
getting like Bridging the Gap podcast. I tried getting Bridging the Gap.
We can work on that.
You know what I mean?
All
Like,
right,
there's so
use
many.
a longer one, but take that
Yeah.
resource slide, pause this, and just write it down. Contact us about anything you're going through. And we would love for you to contact us, okay? Also, the Friday morning coffee socials, 8 a.m.
8
Come
to
see
10.
V, eat donuts, drink
12
coffee, and just
Emerson
talk.
Ave in Gloucester.
Yes, please. Will you come? We have an amazing podcast. Our friend Donna has connected us to Matthew Curran. Now she's
Donna.
connecting us to Tyrone Lawrence, who's in New York. How do we know you're from New York, really? Can you? Oh my goodness! All right, so can you see? No one wears a Giants shirt unless they're really from that area.
Why couldn't you be a Jets fan? We'd be so much better.
No, no one.
Jets?
Is there Jets fans?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, she's from New Jersey.
I'm not a Jets fan.
Well,
Yeah, but at least we can really mock Jets fans. We can't really mock Giants fans.
Our friend
we can.
Tyrone Lawrence is
We
from
did.
New York, born in Jamaica. Donna introduced him to us, as well as Matt Curran, who was an episode. So we want to introduce Tyrone Lawrence. Do you go by Ty? Anything short?
Yeah, it's fine. Ty is fine. A lot of people call me Ty.
All right. Ty is there. So, Ty, we usually start off with a lot of the same stuff. Earlier years, before you came into the military, what were you doing? Where were you from? And kind of lead us into the earlier years. Tell us about yourself.
So I was born in Jamaica. I grew up there most of my teenage years. I came to the States when I was actually 14. And they were getting ready to transition to high school. And I took the test. They wanted to put me back. I took the test and I passed all the tests because the education system in Jamaica is on the British system. So it's a little bit different from the States. So like we learn a lot of stuff they learn here. So I took the test and I went to high school. So it was a little different. It was kind of easy at first because I learned a lot of that stuff before.
Yeah.
But the weather was totally different, man. It was cold.
I bet.
I wasn't a fan of the cold, but I kind of got, not used to it, but kind of learned how to deal with it. And so my parents was already here, and so we kind of transitioned. I went to Erasmus High School. It was considered one of the worst high schools in New York.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
We made it, get by. I played soccer and football and ran cross country track there my whole time in school. And I kind of transitioned to college, Brooklyn College. So I was the first person in my family to go to college. So I kind of paved the way.
Good for you.
So-
Congratulations,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
So it
somewhere
was-
in there, though, you went to Brooklyn College after high school, and something kind of made you think about military?
Well, I've always thought about the military, but I thought I was going to do it when if I was still in Jamaica. It was one of my dreams to become a soldier and a businessman. That was like my dream.
Oh, wow.
And
Even
then-
as a young child, your dream was to be in the service in Jamaica?
Yeah, my dad was a cop.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
you know, I didn't want to be a cop. I wanted to be like, hey, I like the soldier stuff. So I wanted to do that. But
Good for you.
at 16, when we got older, my dad was like, hey, you know, I would prefer y'all, you know, me and my other brother prefer y'all not to be a cop or not to be a soldier. And yeah, I ended up being a soldier. My brother ended up being a cop. So my dad was like,
Take that, Dad.
you know, but it wasn't to get at him. It was just something that I wanted to do. And, you know,
Yeah.
but in high school, it kind of like faded away because I got more into my sports and playing soccer and running track. And when I went to Brooklyn College, you know, I was pretty good at it. And, you know, my career kind of like took off. And I wanted to, you know, I wanted to keep doing athletics. So when I went to join, I actually went to the Air Force because that was my first option to go to the Air Force. And then it was like, hey, we're not, you know, big on athletics like that. You know, it's more of an education thing. And, you know, so I was like, ah. So he was like, hey, maybe we should check out, you know, another branch. And then the Marine guy was there. And I'm like, nah, guy.
Why not?
No.
I'm a little bit smarter than that. Nah.
It's usually the joke the Army tells us, you know, Marines have crayons to eat and just a bunch of grunts. I love it.
I joined the Army, and I mean, at first it was new to me, so I didn't do a 4-year contract. I just did a 3-year contract because I was like, you know, maybe I won't like it. You know, I'll see how it is. And like within that 3 years, you know, I went in as a private, and within that 3 years, I was like E4 promoted. So I'm like, yo, this is easy stuff, you know. You know, and
Got a
then
little taste of that rank.
Yep.
yeah, once I got in basic training, I got offered a scholarship to Texas A&M for running track, and I,
Holy moly.
you know, at the time I didn't understand or know anything about Texas A&M, so I just said no because I was like, hey, you know, but their track star was actually in basic training with me, and you know, I beat him a couple of times in the race. And they,
Subtle brag.
I beat him.
yeah, so they was proud, and I was like, yeah, I just, you know, I already on the contract, I just do my time, and
What
but needless
event?
to say, I never ended up competing for the military.
What event did you beat him at? What did you run?
200. I beat him in the 200.
You were fast. 200. My goodness.
No.
I mean, I played sports all my life. So if it wasn't soccer, it was football. So, and then track. So it was like, I stayed in good shape. But, you know, it was one of those things. I enjoyed it. And, you know, my early military career was, to me, it was kind of easy. You know, somebody tell you where to be, tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You know, if you mess up, they'll,
Do what
you know,
you're
give you some
told.
remedial
Yeah.
training. So
Do
it's
what you're
kind of
told.
easy. So, you know, I read a lot of the policies and stuff like that. And just, back then we had a progression chart, like the things we had to do to progress, like, you know, what you had to do to the courses and, you know, different things to get progressed, go to the board and all that stuff. So it was kind of laid out more for us back then.
Right.
And I was in a field artillery unit. So it was like, whoa. But
What year
I
did
like
you go
it.
I
in?
was just going to ask
Yeah,
that.
what year?
Yeah, what year was this?
99, February 99.
You went in February 1999.
Yeah.
So before 9/11.
Yeah.
He made the choice to go in.
He did.
Yeah.
And then you did 3 years, and then at what point did you re-enlist? Right after that 3 year, or earlier on did you decide you were going to stay longer?
I did it earlier on because then I'm like, you know, it's kind of easy. So I was like, and then I wanted to make E5. So I was like, you know, because I had a leadership and it was like, hey, you know, go as far as you could go till it's time you decide to get out. You know, just accomplish all you got to accomplish and do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And so I just stuck to that, and you know.
So how
kept it going.
many years did you do in total?
Total when I got out was 16 years and 9 months,
Oh, wow.
and I got out of the E7.
Good for you. Yeah.
What did you
It
do?
was-
What was your job?
My job started out as a light wheel mechanic at 63 Bravo back then, and then it changed to the 91 series so we could be aligned with our warrant officers. So I was a mechanic, but then once I got in, I realized like there's a vast amount of opportunity and different things to do. So I then went on to become an instructor. I was an instructor for the tow hoser guns, the 777. And then after that, I did that for a while. It was a lot of traveling and going different places. It was cool. You
Is
get
it
to instruct these-
artillery? artillery is what am I saying?
Artillery.
Artillery. Why can't I say that?
Artillery.
Was that artillery? You were an artillery instructor?
Yes, for the 777. The 777 was the 200. The Hauser was a big gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
So we learned that, and we would go to different places and teach them how to do the maintenance and stuff like that on the gun. So it was fun. But then after that, I kind of came back, became a platoon sergeant, motor sergeant, and I did that for a while. And then the opportunity came up for me to be a SARC at the time, the sexual assault coordinator. And so I took that. It was new at the time, so I went on to do that.
Andrew, any
Pretty
questions?
expensive.
What does SARC stand for? I have no idea what that means.
It was like sexual assault harassment coordinator.
Yep.
Okay.
It's changed along the way. So I don't know. It changed a little bit, so it's modified now. I don't remember exactly what it is right now, but it changed. So it's just pretty much you know, anybody that has a sexual harassment case, you kind of take it and, you know, help them through the process and explain the process to them, you know, how they get help and, you know, whatever medical issues they have after that. Because it's a rough, I don't know if you want to say, it's a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
I could say that, you know, for the people that it happened to and how they have to deal with it, how they deal with it after, and, you know, the during process. So as a coordinator, you got to see some of that and, you know, kind of see those people and see how they change. And it was, for me, it was an eye-opening experience to realize, like, you know, you see people that they look normal, but you don't know what they're going through or, you know, how it is. And so it's kind of like, you know, it was rough, but, you know.
But you were helping.
Yeah.
But you were helping the cause dramatically. Yeah.
Wow.
So Ty, in 1999 you joined. 2002 was kind of that 3-year contract. Somewhere in there, you decided to go long-term because it was easy. Where were you during 9/11, and how did that change your perspective of being in the military?
So 9/11, I was actually at Fort Sill, and we was in PLDC, and I think, remember, we just took a test, and then they came in and they said, hey, we need everybody from New York, you know, to come with us. And we got up and they took us in this room and they said, hey, sit down. But the look and the demeanor of the, you know, the cadre that walked in, you know, we could tell that, you know, something, you know, wasn't right. And then they asked us if we knew what the Twin Towers were. And we was like, yeah, you know, because in high school, one of my gym teacher, her husband worked at the Twin Towers. So he would, like, you know, when you become a senior, he would, you know, have you do interns there, you know, different places there, you know, so you could transition and probably get a job. So I was very familiar with it. I didn't do it in my, you know, because I went to college and I went to summer school, so I didn't do it. But I had a lot of friends, you know, few friends that did it. And so, you know, I was pretty, you know, aware with it. And my brother actually worked there, and my dad, he works there sometimes occasionally. So I knew about it. And then they told us that, you know, the Twin Towers, you know, what happened. And at first I was like, wow, really? Like, you know, I'm like,
Yeah.
You know, like, it didn't really hit you. And then, like, when we actually saw it, it was like, you know, it was, you know, like, the feeling was just kind of like, you don't really know what to do, like, you know. And then we couldn't get a hold of anybody in New York at the time because everything went down.
Right.
So that made it worse because, like, it was just that what if moment, you know.
Now, was your brother working there at the time?
So luckily, my brother got stuck on the train.
Wow.
He missed his regular train. I think he was stuck in the other train, so he didn't get to work. But we had a few friends, you know, people that we knew that was in there, stuff like that. And, you know, it was hard. You know, it was a devastating moment for us, you know, for everybody.
Yeah.
But it changed the course of a lot of things because that day, I think it was that afternoon, you know, they put it out that some people from some of the units, even though we were in school, it was like, hey, just, you know, kind of keep your bags packed because, you know, some people might have to leave. But so it was it's one of those things. Casual, like, this is why we do what we do to try to prevent stuff from like this happening. But unfortunately, we put up a system and people try to figure out how to go around the system. So this is why our job is really important.
Right.
Really kind of like open my eyes and change my perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah, so you have your bags packed, as does your unit, because your cadre and just those in your leadership are telling you we can get deployed. When did you receive word that you were going to the Middle East, and what did that look like?
So we actually didn't leave then because of our unit. There was other units that was, on Fort Sill, there was other units that was ready. They were always, geared up to be ready.
Yeah.
And our unit, I think we were slated like third or fourth, if anything happened, because we was artillery. So, and then what ended up happening when we got ready, they didn't really need artillery. So we had to reschool and go learn how to drive the Super Hex, because that's what they wanted us to do, drive the Super Hex to transport stuff in and out of Iraq.
And is that what that is? It's a transport, what is it? Super
The
Hex?
Super Hex.
Yeah, it's like transportation. It was all the transportation.
Wow.
So it was just the 18-wheeler version that the military have. That's actually, I think that's the biggest truck the military has on the wheel side. So we will go up and go through Iraq, and those guys will transport those disabled vehicles and bring them back down. So it was an experience.
Yeah, because the war had transitioned from the invasion, which happened pretty quick, to initial fighting, but then it transitioned to train the security elements to take back their own country so they can have long-term security. So when did you finally deploy exactly?
I deployed February 2004.
Okay, February 2004.
Oh, wow.
Which is actually almost 2 months after my first son was born, because he was born December 2003.
And when you went over there, you were driving the Super Hex, which was transport. I would love to bring up some photos. Ty,
Yeah.
you want to guide us through some photos?
All right, let's do it. Ready? I'm going to press this button, and there we go.
All right.
That was me doing some training. I think I was in coastal Korea doing some training.
Oh, where in
Also
Korea?
Korea, yeah.
I was stationed in Korea.
I was in Wijambu.
Okay. I was in Daegu.
I was in Camp Stanley back then,
Yeah.
all the way up north, right by the prison.
Yeah.
And you are completely protected with the Gore-Tex, just, long camouflage.
It's cold
everything.
in Korea,
It looks
man.
I
It
can
is
tell.
cold up there.
Yeah, it's cold, especially where we were at.
Yeah.
They were
Sergeant,
cold.
Sergeant Lawrence?
Yeah, I think there I was in school,
Yeah.
locked in school. And here I was at home getting ready to go to the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was getting ready to go to that's one of the next fun things, going to the ball just to, socialize.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think it was a big
yeah,
military.
they're cool. I
Oh,
love
who's
the
this
photos.
cutie?
So that was actually my youngest son, Trayvon. That's the first time I met him after coming back from Afghanistan. He was already like 8 months.
Wow.
Wow.
'Cause I got deployed in January 7th. I got deployed,
Yeah.
and he was born January 20th. So I
Aw.
actually
You missed
watched
it.
him on
Yeah.
Zoom.
About an 8-month deployment? Was that what the deployment was? About 8 months?
Well, it was supposed to be a little bit longer, but I got hurt.
Okay.
I think it was supposed to be like a 9 month, full 9 months.
Yep.
But I got hurt, and I had to.
That's
Yeah.
so sweet.
Yeah, this is in Afghanistan.
Yeah, Bagram, right? This was Bagram Air Force Base. Were you stationed at Bagram?
Yes, I was stationed at Bagram, but we had to go to different places.
Yeah.
We came out. Bagram was just the main place for us, but we went to different places just to check up on stuff and see how stuff
Would
was.
you-
And a lot of people came to Bagram.
When in Bagram, which is the largest base in all of Afghanistan, when you would transport, would it be on the vehicles or would you go by helicopter to go to different places?
So actually, when I was in Afghanistan, I was with a cab unit from Fort Campbell. So
Yeah.
it was all anywhere you got to go was helicopter.
All
It
air.
was all 159 cab. So everywhere they went was by helicopter. There was a few places they drove, but not really a lot.
Right.
Iraq is where we drove through. Because I went with 2 different units when I went to Iraq.
So you did both Iraq and Afghanistan. Iraq was first, then Afghanistan was second?
Yeah, I did Iraq twice.
Iraq
I
twice.
did
Oh, wow.
05 and 506.
Yeah. How many times Afghanistan? Iraq twice, Afghanistan?
One.
Yeah, so that's good. 3 deployments over there. Wow.
Once.
All right. And this is you in the office.
Yeah. Another day.
Just another day
Another
in the
day
office.
in the office.
Yeah.
I love this uniform. I love it. Sharp.
Yeah, it is.
This was me for Lee. I think I was graduating. It was like A knock or B knock. One of them I was graduating. So I was just waiting. This was bring your kids to school, bring your kids to work day. So I brought.
This
my
was your school. Yeah.
So
What are
they
the
wanted
names
to-
of the kids and what are the ages here?
I don't even remember their ages there, but I just know standing in front of me, next to me, or actually behind me would be Tariq. He's
Yeah.
the oldest, and then the other one would be Tavon, my middle one.
So cute. Was this a vehicle where you were you knew
was
how
just
to
gonna ask that.
mechanic?
Yeah.
So one of the vehicles.
This is one of the ones you worked on.
Yeah, this was actually, I think this was in my motor pool, one of the vehicles that I had one of my soldiers was working on, and so we just went over there, walked around, and we took the picture there, so they kind of see. They didn't really fully understand. They just know that
Yeah.
that he worked on trucks, and that was it. But
And he's wicked
it was
cool.
And this was one of my
Well
soldiers,
done.
Guerrero. He's actually my driver, and we was like in the field exercise serving food.
Yep. Love the photo.
Yeah, this is at Trayvon soccer game, and my son Tavon was there also. My oldest one, he's in Georgia, so he didn't make it down.
Yeah. I love highlighting. Okay, look how big Tavon is here. And the next photo will just give perspective of Ty's earlier military life. Oh, love it.
Just look at that smile.
That's
a happy baby.
That's Tavon, his oldest you just saw in front of him, which was a huge 19-year-old now. And this is him being 8 months old when you came back
Yeah, when I came back and saw him.
for the first
So
time.
it's kind of, yeah. No, this was before I was leaving. I kissed him before I was
got
leaving.
it.
I was ready to leave.
Oh.
So he's actually the middle one. He's not the oldest.
Okay, that's right. Yep, Tavon, 19, Tyreek Green, 21 now. Okay.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
very
adorable.
Yeah.
Was that the last one, Andrew?
That was the last one.
All right.
Yeah.
sweet. Nice.
Ty, question. When you were 2 times in Iraq, 1 time Afghanistan, what was some of the most difficult experiences in those war zones? You have any experiences that you can share that were most difficult for you?
At first, being on the road, being on MSR Tampa, that was just, at any given time, anything can happen. And so that was one of those things where, like, it's not a game, because if something happened, it's real for real. So, and seeing some of the stuff that happened there and, how the stuff was happening there. And sometimes, certain places you go, you just know it's going to be some kind of attack or something. So it was like, the whole mindset was different.
Yeah.
The reaction to certain things was different. And, the people around you is like, you really depend on these people.
Yeah.
It really brought everything into focus, that, like when you train and people like, take it for granted and not really pay attention, you really realize, if something do happen, I need this gunner to be on this point. I need the driver to be on point,
Yeah.
and I need, everybody to know that, this is what you got to do for us to get out of here and make
Yeah.
it home alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was really different
Real.
for us. And, especially for me, I just thought that, hey, I never wanted to be put in a position to where I not do my job and get somebody else hurt. That was always my thing. I never wanted, to somebody not make it home because of me.
Absolutely.
He had mentioned
Yeah.
MSR Tampa. It just brings back memories because the military map of Iraq, they had color-coded these long, MSR being main supply route. Main roads were color-coded and named, and we would have to travel all those roads each and every day. And Army, military, everyone who traveled them, you were able to call out that road and knowing how dangerous it was with car bombs, IEDs, ambushes. Does that bring back memories for you?
It definitely brings back a ton of memories. So I think we were there around the same
Yeah.
time too. I was there from '04 to '05, so we were probably there at
Yeah.
the same time. It definitely brought back a lot of memories when you said, listen, this is what we got to do. Basically, this is what we got to do to survive. And I remember having that same conversation with my team, saying, listen, I'm going to do my best, but I need you to do your part. And I remember there were times where I was like, you need to shoot, so we can get out of here.
Yeah.
You just brought back some serious memories for me, just sharing your story. Yeah.
And we've touched on this, but a big piece of this, right, is the community understanding what veterans go through. That's a huge part of this. And, you know, for me being the civilian of the bunch, I think about when I'm working with my own employees, colleagues, and, you know, something can go wrong, and it's like, okay, it's okay, we can survive. But in your case, you may not survive.
Yeah.
That, and I feel like hearing it directly from you and hearing your reflections on it helps bring home how real that was.
Yeah.
It's not a movie.
Right.
I feel like for civilians, that's the only way we can connect is what we see in movies.
It's not a movie. And you know, I feel like for some individuals who are in leadership roles too, it becomes that much more heightened because we're not only responsible for ourselves. I feel like if I had gone into Iraq as a gunner, I would have been like, okay, I'm going to do everything again. I'm going to shoot, fire, do whatever I need to do, whatever. But now you're responsible of other lives. There are families at home that rely on your expertise to bring their families home as well. So it's that much more heightened, I feel like.
Yeah, Ty, you were in the military already 6 years when you got deployed to this area. You're a leader now because you got promoted early. You're leading men and women into combat. Like, what did that feel like?
I mean, it's one of those things like, you know, you're a young junior leader, you know what I'm saying, and you lean towards these senior leaders and you kind of like, you know, pick the ones that you think are like, you know what I'm saying, great. And those are the ones you learn from.
Yeah,
And, you know, those are the ones you want to right with. And those are the ones, you know, you want to go in combat with these guys because, you know, these guys, they're about safety and they're about you know, teaching you like this is what you got to do. You're like, you got to make sure when you enter a new zone, you're calling the sheriff, you're letting them know that, hey, we're coming into your zone, you know, in your area, you know. And these were the guys like I kind of like gravitated to, like, you know, like if there's a convoy and these guys are going, I want to go with those guys because those guys are about, you know, they don't want to get, you know, they don't want to get in a conflict. They don't want the shootout, but if it comes, they already ready and prepared to
they
deal
can
with
be
it.
responsive.
And because of the person who they are, everybody's more in tune. You know, they're not the aggressive leader. They're not the one that's trying to micromanage. These are the guys that relate to you and be like, hey, you know, I'm in a leadership position, you know, because I got there. But, you know what I'm saying, you could get there too, and they'll teach you along the way. So these were the guys that you didn't mind going out with because you know they're number one priority. They're like that. You know, they're like, and the females are like your mom and your dad. They want to make sure that you come back home. So, you know, having leaders like those is so easy because it's kind of like this is home away from home, even though at any given time anything could happen.
Makes all the difference.
But it's different, you know, and they always be like, hey, always make sure, you know, I had good leaders. It was like, always make sure your family at home is taken care of. Every chance you get, you need to talk to them because if your family, if there's something going on back at home, then I'm not gonna have you 100%.
All here.
At that given time, that simple thought of something else on the road could cause, you know what I'm saying, somebody to get hurt.
That second of distraction.
So that was one of the things, some of the leaders, you know, that I kind of gravitated to and like, yeah, this is the guy right here. This is, you know, the female right here. And those are the leadership that kind of made it, you know, easier for us. You know, they were human.
Yeah.
You know, they were human. And I looked at it like that, like they hurt like we hurt. You know, they try not to show you the hurt in front of, you know, but they were human. And they explained that. And then you kind of be like, yo, they're just like us.
Yeah, yeah. What was the difference between the two trips to Iraq? Any noticeable differences in what you did and where you went?
The difference was the first time I went with an MI unit, 101 MI out of Germany. We were 1ID. You know what I'm saying? And if you know 1ID, they're considered to be elite, you know. the way they train, the way they do their operations. You know, they're one of the best out there. You know, 190, the big red one.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you know that. So with that, we were MI. So a lot of the stuff that they did was like, you know, going to gather intelligence and stuff like that, because they had interpreters and they had interrogators and stuff like that. So it was, you know, you be in the village and they talk to people, and you know, if you go with them, you're pulling like security.
Yeah.
You know, with those guys, you know, tag along with them, or you tag along as a mechanic and stuff like that, and you just learn. And it was a good group of guys, man. Like, man, those guys were great, you know, and you know, they were great, and we learned a lot from them, and you know, but it was totally different because, you know, they were in and out of Iraq too, but their mission was different. It was mostly gather intelligence and do stuff like that. And then we had the UAV that was attached to us. So if anything ever happened with them, you know, our unit was the one that went and got them and, you know, worked with them and understand the UAV concept and see how important back then the UAV was, because it was like introductory back then. So you see what they did, especially in Iraq.
Right.
And the time when I went with a field artillery unit. They were, you know, they were MLSR, they were rocket shooters, but they had to be converted to truck drivers because that was the need for that unit. So we all had to learn how to drive the superheads, which is like the 18-wheeler version of the military. And they were transporting stuff from, you know, all through Iraq. You know, anything got disabled or units that's coming in that need to go up north or wherever they need to go, they were doing a transport back and forth and running security. So it was, you know, you saw it from one aspect of being on the road, you know, in Tampa, and then you saw it from another aspect of actually going into little villages and, you know, they meeting with the sheiks and stuff like that. So, I mean, on both ends it was danger, but you know, it's two different things.
Right.
Now, what continues to astound me is how vividly you all can remember some of these.
Yeah, he brings it back. He
Like
really
the way you're
does.
talking, it's almost like you're still. It's almost like you were just there.
Right.
They're sort of memories that we don't talk about, but then when we do, for some reason, we just remember it. We remember things detail by detail.
Yeah. It's
amazing.
seared into our mind.
I get right. He's saying the story, and I'm placing myself in it.
Yeah. That's how we do it. We just. It's again why so many veterans, when triggered or when they finally are processing, are struggling with nightmares, vivid memories, flashbacks, because it's trying to come out. Like, we can talk about it. We've done work in healing on ourselves to where we can talk about it because we know it's helpful.
Right.
It's helping me hear him tell the story in such detail. I'm visualizing the country and the roads and color code and exactly what he's saying. The change in mission from different organizations.
Yes.
You wore many hats. You had many specialties, Ty. And to see the mission change from invasion to, okay, now we need to train them to take this, like yours, to train them to take
Mine
the country
was to
back.
train them.
To bring supplies all around the country. This is what was occurring. It was adapting. And he's bringing that right out in vivid memory. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
How did it change to Afghanistan? Because you were with First Cav now.
Afghanistan, I was with a cab unit, so you know they fly everywhere. So you know it was different. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm used to being on the ground.
Yeah.
So you know, not still being a target, but I'm like, man, in the air, so you know.
It is
those
different.
guys, they were different, man. The culture was different, you know, because they're all pilots and, you know, majority pilots and stuff like that. And they're mechanics and stuff like that. So you get to see these guys and you get to understand, like, you know, we're all in the Army, but like different organizations, you go to different units. It's just, the culture is just different.
Yep.
Like, man, like, you know, it was just, they were like happy-go-lucky guys. Some of them, most of them, you know, they fly everywhere. So it was not a big deal. But, you know, their mechanics, when you talk to them, you realize, like, you know, it's serious, you know, because if something goes wrong in a helicopter, the joke is going to fall.
Right.
You know, so it's like, man, you know, so you get to learn. And like for me, because being a mechanic with my MOS, I could go to any unit. And I think that was one of the reasons why I never changed my MOS, because I've been to different kind of unit. I've been to maintenance unit in Korea.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to field artillery unit, been to the MI unit, and here I was in the cab unit. So it was like, man, the culture is just so different.
Yeah. Every
But
unit, every change was a new challenge, a
Yeah.
different challenge, so you didn't get tired of the repetitiveness. Yeah.
yeah,
That adventure of the military, just your change, you had to adapt as a soldier, as a leader everywhere you went. And you found that when you shared your testimony of, I'm a sports guy, very competitive, beating this guy, you've always had that in your personality, adapt and change and be competitive. So it was all a challenge for you, but a good one, a positive one.
yeah. Because I'm just kind of like, when you go there somewhere and you realize like the culture is a little bit different, but the people are still, they're still the
Yeah.
same, and it's still a competitiveness in just a different area. So like you have to figure out how they do their stuff to kind of be able to compete, on that level, because
Yeah.
every unit has things that they do, whether it's, going to the board to be the soldier of the month board or whatever it is, they had their different stuff, field artillery, they had their stuff, and, so it's different. So once
Right.
you can understand that, then you could try to compete on their level, to see how you match up with them with something that's different to you.
How was the
'Cause
trip in
everyone-
Afghanistan? I
What was
missed
that?
that. I'm sorry, I missed that. But how was the trip to Afghanistan? Was it a good trip, positive? How was it for you?
I mean, it was good and it was not so good, I would say. It was good there, and being there was good. It's just that there was when I got hurt. In Afghanistan was when I got hurt. And I mean, me getting hurt back then, I thought it was like the worst thing that could ever happen to me, because I got hurt with something there I couldn't control. Like there was nothing I could do, so it was, and I think that's one of the things, being at a certain rank, I think, and I've seen it now that I've transitioned out, I think, depending on how long you've been an E5, but from being an NCO in the enlisted side, if you're a senior enlisted NCO, I think it's harder for you when something happened to you that's out of your control and you can't control it, and then now you have to ask for help. Because at that point, as even the E5, some E5s, as long as they've been there in the leadership position, you're the one doing the helping. You're the one making sure the soldiers are okay. You're the one looking out for them. So when it's time for you to get help, it's hard for you to kind of ask for help,
Yeah.
When I got hurt, I had to accept that, like, there are just things that I I can't do anymore. You know what I'm saying? There's things that I need help with, and I think that was one of the hardest parts for me, because I was like, man, I got to depend on somebody else.
Right. And you did 16 years and 9 months, so that means you were medically retired?
Yes,
Yeah.
I got hurt in Afghanistan. They found out I had I took a PT test. I was having chest problems when I went there, and they were saying it was the dust and the asthma. But I was still playing indoor soccer. I was, I was working out, and I was having random times like shortness of breath. And I was like, okay, fine. I kind of like dealt with it. And then one day I was taking the PT test, and my chest started hurting, and I kind of slowed down. And my boss came, and he was like, my first one came, he was like, hey, what's going on? You got to finish the run. I said, yeah, I really slow. And I was like, hey, man, I can't breathe. And he was like, what you mean? I'm like, I can't, it's like I'm inhaling, but it's like it's not going down. And he was like, just try to finish. And I got to the finish line, and I just collapsed. Like,
Wow.
Is that the military way? Kind of
just
grind
finish.
it out. Grind it out.
Wow.
Weakness if you quit. Just finish.
Yeah.
We understand that culture.
yeah, at that point, no one knew what was going on. It was just like, hey, maybe you hyperventilating or whatever, but it wasn't until after I passed out and they figured out what was wrong. Then at the time, I didn't even realize the seriousness of of what it was, because I've been hurt before and I bounced back.
Yeah.
But this time, my boss was there when they came in and they gave us the diagnosis, and he was a combat medic, and he just started, like, he was losing it. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, if it's that serious, like, what's going on? But I didn't understand what it was. And then when they kind of like explained it to me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm saying, it's not, to me, I didn't think it was like life threatening or whatever the case may be. But it was actually really serious.
And that's a common thread we hear quite a bit, right? Is that once there's this change where you have to ask for help, especially with the military, right? That's a hard hurdle to jump for a lot of military members. That's a common thread I've heard as a part of this.
I think it really does go to show that we are, at the end of the day, human. I think people just assume that because we're soldiers, we're trained to be machines, that we are machines, but there are times where the inevitable would happen, especially if you overexert your body to the point, where we don't want to face the reality that we can't do something. We continue to do it until we can't do it anymore. And it goes to show how we are humans and things do happen to us as well.
And Ty's testimony of from a young age within the military being promoted, you heard him, it's easy to becoming a leader and leading people in combat for so long. He got so used to just grinding out the hurt, it got better, that finally now he's saying, I have to ask for help. And that mentally is hard for us as leaders.
How do you swallow your own pride and say, I need help?
I need help.
Yeah.
And who's there to help us?
Right.
And they discharged you. So how was your transition from everything you just said, this leader, senior NCO, not really, like, you literally didn't ask for help. Your heart and your body were about to give out. They give you the news that you have to be medically discharged and retired. How did you take that news, and how was the transition to civilian life?
I mean, at first it was hard, because I was like 16 years and 9 months, and I'm like, yo, I'm there, I'm right there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Couple more years.
Come on, yeah.
Can I just write it out? And they was like, nah, due to the severity of your injuries, you can't write it out because it's a high risk, and we don't know what caused it. And that was the thing, they didn't know what caused it, so they were kind of like, nah, it's kind of like it's a risk. And so I'm like, that, I think with that, and that my military career was ending after 16 years, because after 16 years, that's what and it was coming to an end. But while I was in, I did a lot of schooling, and I did a lot of stuff to kind of like, because I knew one day it had to end, right? But I just didn't know it wasn't going to end on my terms. But I did a lot of schooling, and I did a lot of, being a mechanic, I did some certifications and stuff like that, that along the way that probably would help me out. But when reality hit and it set in, like, I was depressed, you know what I'm saying? And like, honestly, I never really faced depression before because, I've always played sports and I've always had an outlet, so, but this time when it hit, the resources that I knew myself, I couldn't use them.
Wow.
So it was like I was in a whole new world and I was by myself, and like, I still had to make the day-to-day life, what I'm saying? So it was hard. It was kind of like, when I look back of it, I was just kind of like just drifting back then, just like a core of who I was, because I didn't understand like and depression is just, that's just what it is, depression, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really fully understand it, and I didn't know how to deal with it because I've never been in that situation. Like if I ever got, sad before, I played sports, and, that was my outlet, play sports, watch cartoons, and, that was my thing. But this thing was just different. And then, with the nightmares and all this other stuff, it was just kind of like, at a point it got too much, and I was like, man, I think I need something, and that's when I asked for help, not so much ask for help. I just like, hey, I'm going through this and I don't know what to do. It was my way of asking for help. And somebody was like, hey, you should try yoga and you should try this and, try different things. And I was like, and so I tried a few things.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Who did you ask for help? Who did you finally open up to?
Well, at first I kind of went to one of my friends and I said, hey, I don't know how to do this. And he was like, bro, you probably need to talk to the chaplain or somebody because.
Was he a military friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I, what I'm saying? And then I was in the transitioning unit. I think it was like Wounded Warrior transitioning unit at the time. And so they had like therapists and stuff like there to like, kind of like, hey, this is not a regular unit. This unit is to kind of help you and help you transition. Wow. And then you had different courses. So I started seeing a therapist and they was like, hey, I still didn't ask for help. I just kind of told them what was going on.
Yeah.
And then, they figured it out, and kind of like, hey, you need to talk to this person. You need to try this. And I actually got into riding a bike. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't really want to deal with too many people. And so one of the guys like, hey, you should try riding the bike. You ride early in the morning and you ride at your own pace. It's still with a group, but you ride at your own pace. If you want to talk, you talk. And so I went and I told him I can't really ride a regular bike because of, my injury and my back. And he's like, oh, no problem. I thought I was getting out of it, because I didn't want to be around all these people. And he's like, no, we got a bike for you. We got a bike for you. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And then he brought out this bike, and it was a recumbent. I don't know if you know what a recumbent is. It's the one that has one wheel in the back and two wheels on the front, and the steering is on the front.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, this is different. So I sat in it, and I tried to move it around. I'm like, oh, this is... And he was like, yeah, it'll be a challenge, and, it'll be... And then to me, like, the word challenge just kind of like, I could do a challenge.
Yeah.
I could do a
Yeah.
challenge.
That
That's
was
how
a
he's built.
challenge.
That's how he's built.
That was a challenge for you.
Yeah.
So it was different. And so I started doing it, when they did it in the morning time, and I realized, like, it was so much... I was looking forward to that. And then I started opening up a little bit, and somebody was like... At that time, I was already a member of the Wounded Warrior Project.
Yeah.
Because I joined them when I got evacuated to Germany. I joined the Wounded Warrior Project, but I never really utilized them because I was like, okay, just another, organization here saying they do this for veterans, whatever. So I kind of like, whatever. But then somebody was like, hey, the Wounded Warrior Project, they do a bike ride. You should check it out. And so the more I started socializing with people that was in the stuff that I was in, I started to realize, like, there's other people going through what I'm going through. And because we're all veterans, we kind of like feel more comfy sharing with each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
And from one thing led to another, and I got caught up with the Wounded Warrior Project. I actually did a soldier ride with them. They got veterans from all over to do a soldier ride. And we got there, and it was just, we started talking, and it was just became a big networking thing. Like, everybody was sharing, like, what resources they used to get them out of this and, help them along the way. And there was people there with service dogs, and it was people there, amputees, there'll be amputees, and, people in wheelchair. And, and that kind of helped me because I was like, wow, I'm struggling with what I'm struggling with, but these people are struggling and they have less than what I have. And, they're making it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I was like, yo, but I still needed help, professional help, because I really didn't understand how the PTSD thing worked.
That's right.
Yeah.
So networking was what kind of like pulled me out of the depression stage, because now I was doing different activities, trying different things, and stuff like that. And that's how I actually met Donna when I came back to New York. I was going to the Wounded Warrior stuff here in New York, and Donna was there, and I met her. And she was really cool because she was doing a lot. And so, over the course of the years, we kept on volunteering to the Wounded Warrior Project. And we actually me and Donna actually ended up in Chicago together. We went to an event in Chicago, and we were actually doing sled hockey.
Yep, I remember. Remember the photos of the sled hockey with Donna? Yeah.
And so once again, I tried it and I got in, and the guy was like, oh, this is going to be a challenge, it's different. And I'm like, oh, challenge, I could work with that. I became, for me, I use the word challenge every time I hear it. Like, yes, I could do it. I could try to do it.
That's right.
That's your motivator.
It was one of those things that kind of worked for me, and it was like my inner thing. And so I tried it, and Donna was there, and I was pretty good at it. I was good at it for the first time. So they recommend that, hey, you should, look more into it. And I'm like, And it so happened that Donna played for the team in New York, and then Donna told them, and then they reached out and like, hey, we got this guy. He's, for an amateur guy, he's okay, maybe. And so I went and I did the tryout for the team with Donna, the Rough Riders, and I made the team. And I played with them for like a season. And I was like, once again, I was like, Donna. And, then I realized like how this resource and network thing really, really, what I'm saying, works really like, because like I've known Donna now for like almost 8 years.
Wow.
And it's always something. She does a kayaking, and she's just a great
She's
person
awesome.
Yeah,
overall.
great, man. She's
She's
amazing.
just great. And we were teammates for that season, and it was just fun because like you get to meet different people with different disabilities,
Yep.
and you realize like these people are making it. Like they're day to day that you would struggle with that they are doing it. And I'm like, man, you could, I could do it too.
Yeah.
But we all bond together and
Mm-hmm.
we needed, we helped each other. And I was like, man, this was great. Doing different. I never thought I would play sled hockey. I never thought I would curl and,
Yeah.
Look at you.
wheelchair technique and wheelchair basketball. But I realized a lot of stuff when you try it and it's out of your element, it does something for you,
Right.
So it's been a process.
It's amazing, brother. Like some of the things
man.
you said, when I was sad, when I was depressed, I used to, when I had those things, had an outlet. I played sports when I was a healthier version when I was younger, but this internal stuff when you were transitioning from the military because you were getting retired medically, what did he do? But he went to peer. He went to help friends, or he went to
He
the
went
friends,
to friends,
for help.
yeah.
And they said, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And you seem to see things as a challenge, which I love.
Yeah.
His personality. He sees things as a challenge and he goes into it to learn and to overcome. And it helped him heal.
So running and soccer and all these sports that he was able to do before was his outlet, but he found a way to revamp that outlet with other sports that he can partake in. So that's phenomenal that you not only took on the challenge, but you stepped out of your comfort zone and made it who you are now. You kind of overcame those obstacles.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. You're awesome.
Yeah, and your post-traumatic stress wanted to tell you, I don't want to be around people. Let me isolate. But friends said, no, try this bike, which he said, what? All right, challenge. But it was in community that you really begin to heal with other veterans.
Yeah, I realized like, being around other people, you don't always have to like, be all up on them, but like in that environment, like I've been in an environment where I isolated myself, but then you realize that there's one and two people that you gravitated to. You know what I'm saying? Like you might not be in the mass, but you gravitated to one or two people. And then it's just, to me, it's different. And I think that's what led me to be where I'm at now, because I did I had a recumbent that the VA got me. The VA bought me a recumbent bike, and I ride that. And I participated here in New York in the 5-bar tour twice. The first time was like 32,000 people. The second time was like 34,000 people.
The 5-borough tour.
I love it.
That's awesome.
It was great. Like everybody's just riding their bike. It's nice and quiet. You meet so many people, and you get to realize like, a lot of people live with a lot of stuff, and but for me, I think one of the greatest things for me was having the support. Having a spouse that at first she fully didn't understand how it was affecting me, but because of the career field that she was in, she had an idea.
Yeah.
And, she educated herself on the whole PTSD stuff and the TBI. And then, so she was better
Good job,
geared
Wendy.
to help me and understand. Like, like there was times I got just frustrated playing a video game or just playing stuff with my kids. And she'd be like, hey, maybe you want to go walk the dog or something, just,
Right.
So it's the understanding and the support of the people that surround you. I think that's one of the biggest things that helped me. And I was like, after that, I look back at it and I'm like, I want to be the support for somebody else.
Yeah.
I want to be, if I can help you, I'll help you, and I'll be there for you, whatever you need. And because of that, I stuck with the Wounded Warrior Project and volunteered, and the opportunity came up for me to be a group leader, and I jumped on it. So I'm actually one of the Wounded Warrior Project group leader here for New York City, along with my partner Norma Davis. And we run the group here in New York. Every last Friday the last Friday of the month, we do it either Zoom or we do it in person. So if y'all ever in New York,
Yeah.
and in person, it would be nice to show up. No
Wow.
Boston gear.
Well, that's good to hear.
Well, to be
right.
fair, you're wearing your New York gear.
As he should. Well, we're gonna not allow an ending call to action. Is that what we call it? I forget. It's been so long since we've done this.
I know, yeah. No, we always kind of close, Tyrone, with if you were to leave some words of wisdom or whatever you would give some advice to. Let's think of it this way: any military member, whether they're new joining or they're veterans leaving the military, what words of advice could you give?
I mean, pride and emotion don't pay bills, man. Just be open, be humble, and be willing to accept help and be willing to ask for help, because internal PTSD will destroy us all. And you have to be there for each other. Like, I think the biggest thing is, because I had a traumatic experience before, with a soldier, and I think the biggest thing is just call, just say hi, just reach out to somebody, because not trying to. I know y'all about to end, but I had a soldier one time and I was calling, and he was answering, and I kept on calling. It's not like him not to answer. And so he finally answered, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "I'm okay." But he was all monotone, and I'm like, what you doing? And he's like, "I'm about to kill myself."
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Well, we're gonna miss you if you do it. I'm hoping you don't do it, but what I'm saying." I said, "We will miss you if you do it, and you got to think about, how your family's gonna feel, after you're gone." And he was like, "Well, I can't. I'm struggling to do this, and I'm struggling with this." And I'm like, "Man, there's a lot of people that struggle. If it's finances, we could figure it out. If it's whatever it is, we could figure it out.
Right
but
there.
we have to figure it out while you're here." Wow. You know what I'm saying?
Good, Ty. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
He came down, he didn't do it, he didn't do it, and he came down, and he actually went on to be a good soldier and a good leader, and I went to his events and stuff like that, and he always say thank you, and I'm like, I say thank you, I say, yeah, you're welcome, but it wasn't, what I'm saying, you just gotta remember, just be there for people, man.
That's right.
And if you know your audience, if you know somebody's not like that when you call them, and something's probably wrong, then you just keep reaching out. But I think that's what we lack. Like now, especially now where everything is social media,
Right.
we lack that, touching bases with people, going out and just having like, hey, let's just meet up, So I would say just be open, man, be humble, and be willing to accept help and willing to help somebody else, because the PTSD and TBI stuff, it hurts.
No joke, right?
That's right.
Right. It goes to show how far a really good, strong support system can do for an individual, whether that support system is a spouse, a relative, a peer. It really goes to show the change that a good, strong support system can do.
That's right. And that phone call, just that connection, and Ty wouldn't quit because he knew something was off, something telling him. And when the
for
phone
you,
finally
man. That's
answered, monotone, yeah, I'm good.
incredible.
And Ty knew he wasn't good. Just the questions to probe. I don't want this peer and veteran to take their life or hurt
You
themselves.
saved their life. You
Absolutely.
saved his
And that's
life.
what we do in community. We're helping. The 22 a day is now down to 17. We want it down to 0 a day. Veterans taking their life and hurting themselves because exposing post-traumatic stress, TBI, the injuries that make us want to isolate, hide in the darkness to end the pain, because emotional, mental, it all manifests physically, and we want it to end. Doesn't mean taking your life. It means we want it to end. We end it by communicating, exposing it, talking, and we will heal in community over time together. That's what we're doing. That's why we're doing this. It's bridging the gap.
And one thing is finding that new purpose, which with Tyrone talking about, his purpose was connecting, networking, helping others, became a big, strong part of his purpose.
Right.
And I feel like with a lot of military, we've heard they come home with like, well, what's my purpose now?
Yeah.
Well, connecting with their fellow veterans, because something really special happens when you all connect.
That's right. Aw, love you
Oh,
guys.
look at
Love
that look you
Ty.
guys just did.
It's like just the connection.
Yeah,
just the
seriously.
language, man.
Yeah,
seriously.
kudos, Tyrone. I gotta give extra kudos to your wife too, man,
Yeah.
for not letting you give it up, to recognizing some of those telltale signs where you lash out at your computer game or you get a little extra loud with your kids or whatever. Kudos to her for just saying, go for a walk or go do something, go separate yourself from whatever this is, and come back, and we'll talk.
That's right.
That's
That's why I
incredible.
think it, for me, it was good because I had a support channel. My best friend, she's a veteran also. But then I think, with me, I struggle. I still struggle. And I think that what about those people that don't have that support?
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how much more harder it is for them.
Yeah, you're right.
That's right.
And that's just where, like you say, bridging the gap. Those are the ones that we really need to find and be like, hey, we're here for you.
We're here. Yeah.
That's right. And it highlights the resource slide that we had at the beginning. There is a crisis line. You now have a friend in Ty who's connected to the Wounded Warrior Project. Contact us at bridgingthegapvetspodcast@gmail.com. If you're ever in the New York area and want to connect to Ty and the Wounded Warrior Project, you now have another resource. Contact V at the Veteran Service Officer. Contact us. We will connect you to the Veteran of War Retreat Centers. Veterans, you can have help. Choose to stay in this game with this family, and we will heal together in community. And we can just keep doing this. We got to keep doing this right here.
Yeah.
Ty, thank you so much,
Hi,
brother.
thank you, man.
Thank
Your
you so
story's
much.
incredible.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And on that note, we'll see everyone next month.
Yeah.
Next month.
Next
Thank
month.
you all. Appreciate it.
Later, brother.
Bye, Ty.
We're doing.